So thank you so much for your patience on getting the questions answered. Just a little rundown of what my week has been like. So we're in the process of selling our house and buying a new one. Our inspection was scheduled for Monday morning, and Sunday was my husband's birthday. And Sunday afternoon, our upstairs AC went out, and then the garage door broke, and then that night the downstairs AC went out. So, needless to say, we've had a crazy week. So I do appreciate your patience in me getting these posted for you all, but I'm literally just going to go through the list of questions that you guys had and answer them here. And then you guys will have this to be able to refer back to. So the first question, I'm a little confused about the explanation of weighing meat, fish, protein, if we weigh it raw or cooked, and how it changes when cooked. Okay, so this is in your guide on how to convert the weight. So basically, long story short, when you cook meat, it shrinks, it loses moisture. So basically, 4 ounces of raw chicken, once it's cooked, is pretty accurately 3 ounces cooked. So if you are going to use the label that says the nutrition info and log it that way, you can either weigh out, if you're cooking individual pieces, weigh out 4 ounces raw and you can log it 4 ounces raw. If you're cooking it in bulk and you know that you're going to eat 4 ounces, you can weigh out 3 ounces cooked and then log it as 4 ounces raw or 3 ounces cooked. You'll search for cooked chicken or cooked beef or whatever it is, but to get it the closest to accurate, use the equation or whatever, the calculation that walks you through, because it's roughly 25% of weight that it loses once it's cooked. So it shows you how to go from raw to cooked and cooked to raw. But basically, what I do, because I've always done this, I usually always eat 4 ounce servings. So I weigh it if I'm cooking it in bulk. I just weigh out 3 ounces cooked of beef or chicken or whatever it might be. When I log it in my phone, though, I log what was on the nutrition label, but I log 4 ounces because the 3 ounces cooked and the 4 ounces raw is pretty much the same thing. So I hope that makes sense. Again, refer to your guide. It's in the table of contents for weighing. I think it says like weighing meat, veggies, things like that. Now for like oats, rice, things like that, always those things swell when they're cooked because they soak in moisture, so they're heavier when they're cooked. So like if you weigh oats dry and then weigh them when they're cooked, obviously the cooked is going to be heavier, even though it's the same amount, because it's drawn in moisture. So again, oats, rice, things like that, I would say to weigh dry, and they will be, again, on the package. The nutrient information is going to be for dry oats, rice, whatever. I'm breastfeeding. I already took care of you, Justina. Anyone with any experience on calculating macros while juicing? I got a juicer. Carrie, I've had a client before ask about this, and I honestly haven't ever juiced or done anything like that. I would guarantee you can probably go to like YouTube or even like search online to see. But it's hard because again, like you're not eating like the actual like meat of the fruit or vegetable. It's like the juice. So I don't feel comfortable giving like a true answer on that just because I don't know and I've not actually done it myself. So I would dig in a little more on that. I would bet anything you can find a YouTube video. I feel like there's YouTube videos for everything. Let's see. What would you like to see a substitute for meat in recipes? I'm vegetarian. So Amy, I don't know if you ever have eaten like Morningstar brand or I think it's Boca, Bocca. They have beef crumbles. They've got different beef crumbles and then different products like that. I have a ton of clients that eat those. I don't know if you eat eggs or egg whites, but I'll even mix, like sometimes if I'm just burnt out on chicken, I'll use egg whites and it may sound weird and random, but I'll eat that as like my meat with vegetables. And I'm sure there's other vegetarians or vegans or clients in the group that limit meat. So I would also ask in the forum so that they can give you ideas on things that they eat. Because again, I do eat meat, so I'm not going to, like, my ideas might not be as cool as somebody else's ideas, but I would definitely look into like the beef crumbles and things like that from Morningstar and Boca, or however you say it. Let's see. I've entered my weight and measurements. Will we enter them again the same way at the end of the month? So you can weigh as often as you would like and measure as often as you would like and update those as you go. When you go back to that tracker, you'll be able to see like a graph of how you've done. I would say for weight personally, and this is what I do and this is what I have one-on-one clients do, it's so much more accurate to weigh either daily or a few times a week and use your average. So if you're going to weigh 3 times that week, then use your average for the week so you can see what it is. Again, if you're only weighing like 1 time a week, I would just say weigh at the beginning of the program and weigh at the end versus like weighing just the 1 time a week. Again, because you might catch yourself on a day right before you're going to start your period and maybe your weight is elevated, or maybe you had a really high sodium meal the night before, so you're holding a little water. For those of us that just started back in the gym, you're going to notice that the scale might go up a little bit just because of muscle soreness. Your muscles are filling out from carbs that are now stored glycogen and filling in your muscles and holding some water in the muscle, which is a great thing, but you will notice that on the scale. So there are things that will basically make your weight fluctuate daily. So using that average for the week is far more accurate. Measurements, you probably won't notice huge drops in measurements weekly, so I would say every 2 weeks. So maybe day 1, the middle of the program, then the end of the program on measurements. Weight, again, some people don't like to weigh daily because they feel like it gets in their head. I strictly am fine with using the scale as data. It doesn't make me go crazy or like sabotage my day if my weight is up, because I've done this long enough. I understand why it is. So if you're somebody that you're afraid it will put you in a negative place, then I would say to weigh, again, either start of the program, end of the program. Again, you're going to find so much more difference in pictures and measurements than you will the scale weight. The scale weight might only change a pound or 2, especially for those of you that are newer to weight training and you're adding a little muscle while you're losing fat. So again, don't put everything on the scale because you'll be disappointed. So, but if you're somebody that is totally fine with using it as data and seeing how your body responds to different things, then I would suggest weighing multiple times a week and using the average. Let's see. Obviously, the macros you gave us are aggressive because we're doing a 30-day shred. What happens afterwards? When I began macros 2 years ago, wondering what macros should be after our 30 days. So, Deborah, this is going to be totally different for everyone. That's why this is strictly a fat loss program, and we go through, it's a fat loss phase. So, basically the program, the way I've designed it is I have clients that will come through 30 days and they get to where they want to be, and after the 30 days I recommend for them to reverse diet. I have in my membership, and this is what most clients do, move from the shred to my monthly membership if they have hit their goal and they feel like they're ready to maintain. I have a full reverse dieting program that is in my membership that walks you through how to take your macros and figure out what your maintenance should be and reverse diet up towards that maintenance. There's even a training program that goes with the reverse that is geared a little more towards like lifting heavier weights so you can utilize really the extra food that you're giving your body. So that is one option. If you get to your goal at the end of the 30 days, you're ready to reverse to maintenance, I would highly suggest joining the membership. It's only $20 a month. It gets new workouts every month. There are tons of new training programs in there, like if you want to work out 3 days a week, there's home and gym, so tons of different training programs. There's guides in terms of the reverse dieting, the same tools and things like recipes and stuff. So again, for what you pay for it, it's amazing resources and tools. So that's what I would suggest if you are where you want to be at the end of the 30 days. Most people are not where they want to be at the end of the 30 days. They have a little more weight to lose. So if you are in that category where you still want to work towards fat loss, that again is why I designed the shred to be different every month. So the workouts get updated every session. And if you're somebody that wants to rejoin the next session, you obviously get adjusted macros to help you continue your fat loss journey. Plus, you'll have new workouts, and you get a repeat client discount. So all of you that are in here would be able to rejoin at any time. So even if it's not next month, say you took a month off and wanted to come back, the system recognizes your email and it auto discounts to $75. So any repeat customer can join for $75. You get, again, the adjusted macros, new training program. That's what I would suggest doing if you are not to your goal where you want to be after the 30 days. So, but again, if you do get to where you want to be, I would suggest reverse dieting and joining the monthly membership and following that guide to run your reverse diet. Let's see. Are your recipes set up in MyFitnessPal, or do we just break down what we had? So Trish, no, that is something that I'm working on. Unfortunately, it is like way on the bottom of my to-do list because I've just had so many other things, and I'm working on something for my app that will have a food tracker in it. So I'm more interested in having my recipes put in my own food tracker in my own app than MyFitnessPal right now. So that's why I haven't done that. I would suggest either creating, if it's something that you know you're going to eat often, just creating the recipe, or even using the create a food option and labeling it like Emma's oat bake and then plugging in the macros for it, so it's much easier to log versus like the individual ingredients every time. The 10,000 steps in a day, do they have to be within a same walk or just regular steps throughout the day? So Nancy, no, it literally, and Karen asked, were we given a step count? So no, you're not given a step count. I do suggest, if you've never tracked steps, or maybe you are very sedentary, to start tracking steps, just because that is a great way to increase your NEAT and help with fat loss. And it's informal cardio, so like you're not having to like get out and run all the time. But no, Nancy, for the 10,000 steps, that is through like your whole day. So like it can be just your daily movement, a scheduled walk. It can be maybe you took a run that day and those steps count towards your 10,000. So no, like it's literally 10,000 throughout the whole day of just your like every movement, every day, if that makes sense. So no, they don't have to all be in one walk. You can break it up however you want. Again, it's going to track your steps throughout the whole entire day. So yeah, and some of you may not be able to get to 10,000 in a day. If you're very sedentary with your job and maybe you only average like 2,000 or 3,000 right now, set a goal for like 5,000 and gradually work that up. But like 5-10 minute walks, like after you eat lunch. I used to do that when I worked at the bank. I would go, I would eat my lunch in my car, and if it was nice out, I would go for a walk after I ate. Just things, you know, to help. It helps with digestion of food, and I just feel better. But again, like if you have an Apple Watch, you can have it to where it like dings you to like stand up and stuff like that. So like even just standing up every hour and walking around just for a minute to stretch your legs. But again, like don't stress over the 10,000 steps. For people that have a harder time with cardio in general, like running, if you have bad joints or bad knees or whatever, I would highly suggest setting a step goal versus trying to get out and like run or do something that's going to injure yourself or that you're not comfortable with. So step goal for people that are have a hard time with formal cardio, I would highly recommend that. Let's see. In using MyFitnessPal, when you enter your exercise for the day, it adds calories burned. Should we not be entering the calories burned from the exercise as to stay within our... So, no, you will not be eating back the calories burned. This is one of those FAQs that is in the FAQ like link that I posted to. So you can either, on MyFitnessPal, like you can swipe to delete it, or you can have it set to where it won't read your exercise and steps to where it won't deduct your, or add back calories. So, but no, you will not be eating back those calories. Let's see. Oh, and I see somebody figured out how to turn it off. Thank you, Stephanie, for adding that tip for everybody. Should the 10,000 steps a day be in addition to working out? So again, you guys are getting too focused on like hitting the 10,000 steps a day. that is just a recommendation. If you're somebody that's sedentary or you do not have to hit 10,000 steps a day, it's just something I recommend. And it's an easy way to burn calories without having to like kill yourself. If you're having to like schedule in extra walks and all these things like in addition to your workouts and stuff, like don't, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a recommendation. So again, it's not required, it's not 100% necessary. It's just something that you can, if you're somebody who is very sedentary and you're just looking for some extra ways to burn calories, or and especially for people right now, like I think, have a little more time on their hands, and maybe you're going to just sit around and watch TV, like go for a walk, obviously that, something like that. But don't get too married to the idea that you're having to like do cardio and do the steps and all the things. Like, get your workouts, and if you can get your cardio in, do that. If you can, have a goal of shooting for the steps a day, yeah, I would do it. But again, don't get married to the idea that you're going to fail if you don't get those in. Has anyone, let's see. Okay, so something I won't be doing, guys, is like going through and like, because I just don't have time to like go through on everybody's and say like, eat this, don't eat this. In terms of like, if you're like, I have this many macros left for the day, what I would suggest is utilizing that food list that I posted, and you can see what foods are like what the majority of what macro. So like fruits and vegetables are pretty much made of carbs. Egg whites, that's a lean protein, things like that. So knowing that, so if you know that you're like 30 grams short on carbs or whatever, hey, you know what, I know fruit and rice cakes, those are pretty much just carbs, I can eat that. So just kind of using the resources in there to be able to do that. But also, I do recommend pre-logging your food the day before. It does make it easier to hit your goals. For those of you that are struggling still, even with pre-logging your food, stick with just hitting your protein and not going over calories for the first little bit until you get used to it. Because this is new for a lot of you, and you're still going to see great results if you're staying within your calories and hitting your protein. So, or getting, even if you're a little bit short on protein, like working on higher protein amounts, especially than what you were eating previously, and staying within your calories, you're still going to see amazing results. So if you're coming up short on carbs but you're going over on fat, as long as you're not going over your calories, you're fine. What is the best way to measure food when meal prepping for the week? So I covered this already at the first. Again, like if it's, yeah, I'm not going to go through that spiel again, but I already covered that at the first of it. I struggle with meal planning dinners for the whole family. I'm awful at calculating recipes. This is where I need the most help. Meal ideas and recipes for a family of 4. So I'll be posting recipes literally every day, and you'll notice that people will post what they're eating in the forum. So just use that as inspiration. The other thing I would suggest is if you're on Instagram or Pinterest, looking at things that you know that you like, and just, it's things that you can like make simple swaps to make them lower calories. So April, maybe you're going to do taco night for your family. Make sure that you're using lean beef, lower fat cheese. Maybe you do a taco salad and the rest of your family uses shells or tortilla chips or whatever. But it's just really making like small tweaks to be able to accommodate you, but also be able to feed your family. Same thing if you're wanting to do burgers one night, use lean beef. Maybe you eat yours in a salad or on like half of a bun, or maybe you do like a lower calorie bun, the 80 calorie buns, and your family eats, diesel cheese and all the toppings and things on theirs. But again, you can accommodate everyone and just alter yours just slightly so that it fits better with your goals. What measurements do I suggest that you take? You don't have to measure anything, but if you are measuring, I suggest at least doing bust, waist, and hips. Yeah, that's where you're going to see the biggest changes in terms of measurements decreasing. I realized that the June shred guide I received in the email has different workouts in the guide in the portal. No, the June, I'm not sure what that is. If you are somebody that was in a previous shred, Just make sure that you have the right session selected at the top of your app screen so that you are actually selecting the workouts for June. So there's only been one set of June workouts ever made, and that is what was emailed out, and that's also what is in the app. Karen, I was not given any macros. Where should I find this? Everybody's macros have been sent out, so please make sure that you're checking your, and they were sent out as of Monday, unless you joined late. So make sure that you're checking your junk mail, and it does come from macroswiththem@yahoo.com. It's not the first, it's not the email address that your welcome email and things came from. So it does come from a Yahoo email address. What's a good protein to have for breakfast besides eggs? So oats with egg whites. You can do oats with protein powder, Greek yogurt. If you need a little more protein, you can add protein powder in your Greek yogurt. Turkey sausage, turkey bacon, the breakfast sandwich, and you can leave the egg off if you don't want egg and just do cheese and turkey sausage. I know some people do overnight oats and do like oats with Greek yogurt and some protein powder. Let's see. Are we tracking sugars? No. In your welcome email, it even says sugar goal none. The reason I do this is because people get freaked out when they look, especially if they're eating like fruit and things that have sugar in them, but that are good foods for you. So I do not set a sugar goal unless you are someone who is diabetic, or your doctor has told you need to watch your sugar. The majority of your food, if you're following an 80-20 rule and the majority of your food is good whole foods, your sugar isn't going to be crazy high anyway. So again, things like sweet potatoes and fruit, like those have sugar in them, but they're good for you. So that's why I don't set a sugar goal, because then people start to limit fruit and things that are good for them because they see that their sugar might be high. So unless you're filling your macros with like Pop-Tarts and Twizzlers and things, like, you're going to be fine. And your sugar and your sodium, I would not put too much into that, unless you are diabetic or have hypertension, or your doctor has said, hey, watch your sodium, hey, watch your sugar. Are there typical errors beginners make when counting macros? So yes, a lot of things with the weighing and measuring your meat is one that I see people make a lot. The eating back the calories burned from exercise is a mistake that people will make. Trying to be too perfect with hitting like each macro specifically, you're never going to hit all macro like exact. So again, that's why I suggest, if you're somebody that's a beginner and you are maybe it's like stressing you out, just to really focus on not going over your calories and hitting your protein as close as possible. Even if you're letting your fat and carbs kind of fall where they fall, it's no big deal. You are going to still see great fat loss if you are hitting your protein, because that's what makes sure that we're losing fat, because adequate protein is going to help us sustain muscle while we're losing weight. And then calories, that's what drives the weight loss, because the calorie deficit. So calories are always going to be king, but then you need that adequate protein to make sure that it's fat loss and not just weight loss in terms of water weight, tissue, muscle, all of those things. So we're really geared towards fat loss. That's why protein intake is super important. But those are the most common ones, like people trying to be too perfect and stressing themselves out, and then eating back calories burned, and either logging food inaccurately. I see that a lot. So just make sure that, like, when you're searching in MyFitnessPal, and this is in your guide too, to search for things with USDA beside them, and then make sure that you're using a food scale and actually weighing your food and not eyeballing it, especially if you're brand new to it. You're not familiar enough to be able to look at something and know that it's 3 or 4 ounces or 100 grams. So until you get more used to tracking, you're not going to be able to look at food and be able to estimate it correctly. So food scale, a digital one, you can get one on Amazon for like $10. But those are the most common ones. Can I use my Peloton bike for cardio? Yes, I would say I would listen to Tish on this. So she, I don't have a Peloton, and I don't know how intense that is, but I would definitely go with the advice she gave on that. Just finished my Thursday workout because that's just how my week worked out. I'm having some trouble doing the TYIs. Any pointers? Definitely use lightweight. So people will try to go like heavier weight on those. I use like 5 pounds. So again, if you're using too heavy of weight, you are going to have a hard time actually using your lats. You're going to recruit like your delts and your neck and like any other muscle that you're not supposed to use. So just make sure that you're using light enough weight. And if you have a bench that inclines, I would suggest obviously like chest down. That way you have support here versus standing and bending over. You're not as supported. So if you can do chest supported and make sure that the weight, even if it's 3 pounds, you're still going to be able to feel the squeeze and the burn because you're doing it properly. So if you're recruiting other muscles in to help with it, you're not getting the benefit of the exercise anyway. So that's what I would suggest there. But yes, it's literally like a T, like a lateral raise, a Y, so it's slightly out front, and then an I all the way up like a front raise. But again, like your chest down, so it's not like standing T, Y, I, but it's more elevated, like inclined. How do we put in our macros if we are not using the premium? So in your welcome email, I put a video that if you click on the link, it walks you through exactly how you can put your macros in to get them as close to possible as what I've given you. Unless you want to, like Kimberly said, upgrade to the premium for 1 month for free. That's helpful for people if they need to do that so they know exactly where to hit. I don't use the premium, but I've literally done this since like 2014, so it's just math that like it's easy for me to know, like, if it's showing that I need, say my protein is 120 grams, but I can only get it set to 126, I know that I'm hitting 120, not the 126, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's just how I do it. Oh, and Christy has shown a good way to be able to do that. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you for that, Christy. Wondering if it's okay to switch some of the exercises around as far as what is part of the superset. I'm thinking of proximity of things. You can. I try to make sure that a lot of the stuff that I superset is where you can take dumbbells with you to a machine. So I would try to stick as close as possible to how it's supersetted. If you have to mix it up, obviously, like, do what you need to do. And I would try to keep it in the order because, like, at least the first 2 movements, because like the compound lifts, especially the first superset, is going to be like your heaviest lift, and you'll want to get that in first. So if it's like deadlifts or squats or something like that, I would try not to go out of the order if possible. But if you need to tweak a few things in there, again, do what works for you at your gym, absolutely. Any tips on getting all your macros in for the day? Yeah, so do not log as you eat. You'll probably never hit your macros that way. It's very hard. So pre-logging the day before is going to be your saving grace. I always go through the night before and put in all the meals that I know I'm going to have. I typically eat the same thing for lunch every day, so I plug that in. Breakfast is kind of the same way, and then we decide the night before what we're going to have for dinner the next night. So I plug my main meals in first, and then what calories I have left over, I will plug in snacks, dessert. I always pre-plan a dessert because I'm a huge dessert person. I love sweets. So that is something that's always part of my day. So I plug in like the non-negotiables first, and then use those remaining macros to kind of plug in like snacks, or if I know protein was a little low, I might make my serving of egg whites at breakfast a little larger. But again, the pre-planning, pre-logging the day before is huge. Have a tough time with protein mostly. Trying to add more protein to each meal has helped. Yep, for sure. Can you explain how to break down an entire recipe into servings? I have a post that will be on the group that walks you through how to enter a recipe, how to, yeah. So I do have something that I'll post. What's the difference between home workouts and the band and body weight workout? The band and body weight workout. So the band and body weight is for people that don't have dumbbells. So the only reason I ever started making those guides is because when COVID started, there were so many people that worked out at a gym that had no equipment at home that were able to purchase bands. So the band and body weight workout, if you have dumbbells at home and you want to just use the band and body weight, that's totally fine. But that one was created specifically for people that did not have any equipment other than bands that they were able to purchase. What do you recommend? What days do you recommend doing HIIT workouts? This is answered in the FAQs too, but this you can do your cardio any day that you want. I do recommend doing cardio after your lift so that you're not using your energy that would go towards your weight training in your cardio. So I would try to do it after your training. This might sound crazy to some people, but I think doing cardio after a leg day is helpful because typically people get super sore the next 2 days, and it's harder to get your cardio in when you're really sore. So if you do cardio right after a leg day, it's a lot of times easier to push through then than to wait till the next day or two where you're really sore and it's harder to do like a jog or get on stairs. So you can do it any days that you want. You can even do on rest days. You can do an active rest day and do cardio only on those days. Totally fine. And for those asking about the 10,000 steps, like on your rest days, I would highly recommend not like just lounging and laying. I would say to get 10,000 steps in on rest days, just so you're having like an active rest day and you're staying moving and things like that. So that is all the questions that you guys had. I hope that is helpful. But I am going to, yeah, upload this in YouTube, and then you guys will see it and have this to use as you need it. So I will talk to you guys soon.